You probably clicked on this video because you would like to make money online. You have come across at some point videos and articles online about the allure of escaping the 9 to 5, reaching financial freedom, living your dreams, escaping the modern slavery of the workforce. And if you clicked on this video, it's because some of that probably resonates with you. Because you're looking for freedom, and a way to do that is by following the advice of some of these people that you have come across online. And what I want to do today, coming from someone who has fallen down almost every single one of these rabbit holes of making money online. When you come from a place in life where you may feel trapped, maybe you don't feel happy in your career, having the promise of making $10,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 of passive income through drop shipping, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is, it can sound like the solution to all your problems. And I'm not saying that these dreams are not possible, but what I am saying is that a lot of these narratives are coming from people who are being predatory towards people who are in a vulnerable place in their life. And I think the first thing that you have to ask yourself is ask yourself about your own psychology. Some of the videos that seem to go the most viral is when you have a 22-year-old who has this big business that just made $30 million, or an 18-year-old that is making $100,000 a month, a 25-year-old that's selling ebooks, making millions of dollars. And usually the young entrepreneur image is what sells. Those people, they get a lot of interviews, they get a lot of coverage, and I want you to ask yourself if maybe you are in your early 20s, or maybe you're in your late 20s, or in your 30s or 40s, or whatever it is. But you have to ask yourself, are you comparing yourself and your value to the success of someone who's 19 who is worth $30 million? And is that comparison making you feel like you're not worthy enough, or you're not successful enough? Or if a 19-year-old can do it and I'm 27 and I don't have $30 million, that means I'm a failure, because if he can do it, why can't I? Like, are you having those thoughts? You have to ask yourself that. Because if you're coming from a place in your heart that your self-esteem is subconsciously being lowered because of these comparisons, that's not good for you. And if you do start venturing into these online businesses, if you're coming from that place, it's already not a good start. It's very similar to even your friends on social media. Everybody's posting their highlight reels. You know, people are going traveling, or whatever it is that they're posting, and then we're comparing our true lives to the highlight reels of other people. Like, you don't know if when somebody's on a trip posting photos in Vegas, you don't know if they're going through a crisis in life. And I've met people like that, more than one. So you have to be careful with what you're seeing online, not just from your friends, but from these influencers. The second thing that I want to point out is that often a lot of people that make money online are people that are selling the dream of making money online. And I want to explain this a little bit. And I don't want this video to discourage you. That's not what I want to do. Because there is a way to do things in a proper way. But you have to make sure that your psychology is in the right place. And you're not coming from a place of lack, and from feeling insufficient, and from comparison. Because if your energy isn't in the right place, and even if you don't believe in anything esoteric, even if you just believe in, what's concrete and like the psychology, even from a psychological point of view, it's not good when you're coming from these places of lack. and low self-esteem. Now I want to move over to some of these tactics that are generally used by some of these gurus online. So one of the things that I fell into, this is going back many years ago, over 5 years ago, I tried the whole drop shipping thing. I probably tried 6 or 7 different stores, Shopify stores. I was following a lot of the big drop shipping influencers at the time. And again, at the time, I was comparing myself to like, oh, this 19-year-old is making $100,000, and of course that affected my self-esteem. Mind you, I did work hard to try to make some of these online businesses work. And then I remember I was learning about Facebook ads, and that was a whole rabbit hole. I remember I spent probably 8 months outside of my 9 to 5, probably 30 hours a week. So again, my 9 to 5, I was working 45 hours a week, plus another 30 hours just doing all this like research and like learning. So I was busy day and night. And of course I eventually burnt out, but I was trying my hardest. One of the things that I found out through this is true for almost everything, whether it be Instagram, an online store, you're trying to grow a YouTube channel, trying to grow a Facebook page. For the most part, a lot of these things are going to circle back on advertising. But I can explain that a little bit more later. But I remember with dropshipping, one of the things that you have to realize with some of these gurus is that they can show you what they supposedly made on their online store. And let's say that the number is real. Let's say that they made $80,000 this month. Those $80,000 are probably just the overall sales, because that's what they show you. For all we know, the cost, the shipping costs, design costs, advertising costs, out of that $80,000, maybe $70,000 was on costs to make this happen. So really, did they really make $80,000 or $10,000? Because if out of the 80, to make 80, they had to spend 70, that's already a false perception of how much money people are making. And that's why you have to be careful to not believe like the overall revenue, because for the most part, most of the time, they're not going to be including the expenses. So again, you're going to be comparing yourself to someone who has an online store making $150,000. How much of that was the expense to make the product, for the design, for all these things? It was years ago when I tried this, but I believe it was something average at the time, at least. It's probably similar now. Roughly 70% of your profits were expended in expenses. So out of $100,000 in sales, then you would be looking at actually 30, because for the product and everything, it's $70,000. And advertising is a huge cost. And then they make a YouTube video, and then people watch, and then they make money through ad revenue because they're selling a dream. And one thing that I want to clarify, for most of the things that you do, yes, you can rely on just natural algorithms and engagement, studying those very deeply. That is something that you can do, and that can potentially work if you do the correct research and the right work. But then, for the most part, at some point, you are going to come across a certain roadblock, which is advertising. So whether you're trying to grow a vlog, a media outlet, an Instagram account, a Shopify store, an Etsy store, like whatever it is, like you just want to grow your brand, or like some sort of local business initiative, like nonprofit, like whatever it is. Yes, you can rely on the natural algorithms to make this grow, but for the most part, you will at some point need some sort of advertising. Like, time is money and money is time. You can do some of the engagement work manually, but then when it comes to advertising, what a lot of people don't tell you, or let's say you're going to publish a book, you need to advertise the book, you need to advertise your vlog, you need to advertise like your nonprofit, like, or if you have a music store, like whatever it is, at some point you will probably have to advertise. What a lot of people don't tell you is Again, things are probably going to be a little different, and actually probably more difficult. The more the time goes on, sometimes the more difficult advertising can become, just because of the competition and the saturation of different markets. So a lot of people think you can just run Facebook ads and then you're going to get clients. Sure, there's once in a blue moon that you're going to have the right ad. It's targeting the right audience, has the right click-through ratio, and it's working perfectly. The likelihood of that happening is quite low. So, for example, like Facebook pixel data. Let's say that I want to sell, let's just imagine that this cup has like a bunny on it, which it doesn't. But let's say that I want to sell cups with a cute little bunny. So then I have to target it to an audience that is likely to buy the cup with the cute little bunny. And in order for me to find that audience, I basically essentially have to buy pixel data. So, yeah, I could target people that like coffee, and then people that also like bunnies, and then maybe people that like cartoons, and narrow it down, and maybe people that over the last month they've purchased something online, and that's how you can kind of narrow down the audience. But even if you narrow it down, you still have to do A/B split testing. You have to run different ads. And part of all this is like collecting email addresses of your customers, and then at some point after you spend quite a significant amount of money in advertising, maybe you have 100 people that have bought the coffee mug with a cute little bunny on it, and then with those 100 emails you can use all the character parameters of what those 100 people have in common, and then use that pixel data to be able to target other audiences, or what I mean, audiences in other areas, like in other cities, other countries, rather. But the entire process of getting to that stage 2, of having your pixel data, having your ads, you've honed your ads to what's working, that is going to take an investment. That is going to take time. That is going to take split testing. That is going to take having a lot of ads that are not working for you to find what's right to get that market. So what I'm getting to is a lot of people start running ads, and they start running ads thinking, oh, like I have $5,000 or something for ads. This is going to potentially get me X amount of clients if each client is worth X amount of cents or whatever. But it doesn't usually happen that way. You have to invest in the data. So if we're talking about Facebook specifically, so depending on your business, the upfront cost may be $1,000, $5,000, $20,000 just for that first beginning stage of figuring out your data, the ads that are working, collecting an email list before you can really, really get it going. People are watching these videos online, promising things that things are really easy, but nobody tells you that. Yes, you can get to that point where you're getting all these clients, but nobody's telling you you have to invest thousands and thousands of dollars on collecting the data. And it doesn't mean that you can't have a successful business, as I'm saying. But if you're going into it with the false expectations that these YouTubers are giving you, you're going to hit walls. And then when you hit some of these walls, you're going to feel like you're doing something wrong. And then you're going to feel like you're being a failure. And the reality is, maybe you are doing everything that's right. Like you aren't a failure. And the reason you feel like a failure is because you just don't have all the right information of what it makes to have like a business that it's growing and it's working. So if people misrepresent those first stages, how are you supposed to know? How are you supposed to know that you're on the right track? And if you are on the right track, you're not going to know, and then you're probably going to burn out and then quit your business and quit coming from the point of view that you failed, when really nobody showed you what you were supposed to do in the next stages. And that's another reason why you have to be careful, because you could be doing everything right and have partial information and feel like you're failing. So again, it kind of comes back to the cautionary tale, these YouTube tutorials and all these videos and all the proper steps. There's going to be a lot of blind spots, and it doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that you need to fill in these gaps of knowledge. But like, you don't know what you don't know. You can't blame yourself for not knowing what you don't know. Another rabbit hole that I fell into at some point was growing Instagram accounts, and mind you, like I actually got pretty good at it at the time. This was maybe 7 years ago. There was one travel account that I was growing by like 800 followers a week, which is actually not bad. Like, if you ask me, like that's pretty good. And all of these were organic, real followers, not bots. But like, it was a lot of work. A lot of work. And I'm not going to get into the whole rabbit hole of that, because it actually gets a little bit deep. But the way that influencers, the way that they were using the algorithms at the time, it's a lot of false perception. That's all I will say. And when I was growing some of these accounts, even though I was able to, like, I was struggling a bit, because it is hard to monetize. But again, like, online, you see how it's so easy to get sponsorships on Instagram. And mind you, as the years go on, the harder it becomes. So even like 10, 12 years ago, if you had 10,000 followers, it was way different than if you have 10,000 followers now. For the most part, 10,000 isn't that much today. That isn't going to make you a lot of money. At the time, I know even influencers with like some hundreds of thousands of followers, they were even having a hard time even getting free stays at a hotel. Just because the more and more and more people there are on a platform, and then the more, if we're talking about travel specifically, the more these hotels get all these requests from influencers, at some point there's going to be an oversaturation. And if you don't have like a ton of followers, like by a ton, I mean probably over like 500,000, over 1 million, 2 million, it's gonna get tough. I even fell down the whole rabbit hole of, making YouTube videos with AI. And there's two sides of that, right? So the first part is oversaturation, right? So let's say that at some point, it might even be possible, like now, mind you, it might still take some time, but let's say one person is able to create 200 videos a month with AI on a particular topic. And then 10 million people are doing that at the same time because they want to get ahead of the game. Oh, I'm going to make so much money with videos, making videos with AI. I barely have to put any work. Hundreds of videos without any effort. Mind you, maybe hundreds is a little much now, but that's certainly a possibility in the near future. So if you have, say, 10 million people posting 200 videos a month, that is 2 billion videos a month. You have a problem of oversaturation, and that's true with anything, right? So in the early days of dropshipping, you could barely put any effort. You would be making money because there wasn't that much product, there wasn't that much competition. In the early days of Instagram, it would be easier to grow an account because things aren't oversaturated. There isn't as much competition. TikTok, even up until recently, within the last few years, I know it was like fairly easy to grow an account. Because again, the saturation, the competition wasn't quite there. The algorithms were a lot easier to deal with. But with any platform, the more people there are, the more competition there is, the more oversaturation and the harder it becomes. It's kind of like in the early days of YouTube, it was a lot easier to be a YouTuber and to have a following because there weren't that many. If you have a petri dish with some sand, the likelihood that someone's going to pick out your speck of sand is a lot higher. But then when you have tens of millions, hundreds of millions of ebooks and like YouTube videos and TikToks, Instagram Reels, Instagram accounts, like whatever it is, and then with AI, people are going to be able to spit out 10, 15, 20 times more. It's kind of like that speck of sand. If your speck of sand is in a small dish, it's more likely that it's going to be discovered. But if your speck of sand is somewhere in all the oceans in the world and all the beaches in the world because of the amount of specks of sand, the amount of content. It's going to be a lot harder for your speck of sand to be noticed and to be picked out of the crowd. And then a lot of this circles back to advertising. And it doesn't mean that if you don't have a good business or a good product that you're not going to do well. If you fall down the rabbit hole of drop shipping, a lot of the people that are making the money are people that are making videos about drop shipping, selling a dream of how to escape the 9 to 5. Looking at like growing Instagram accounts. And the thing is that nobody in their right mind, an actual successful marketer, they're not going to create competition for themselves. And the reason I know this is because I have met some of those marketers. One of them I know in person. I'm not going to name her. Absolutely brilliant marketer, brilliant in Facebook ads. Someone that I would definitely trust if I wanted to pay someone to grow a business. And I remember at one point, I paid for her to get some consulting, and I wanted more details on the advertising, and I do appreciate her honesty, but at the time she said, along the lines, I'm paraphrasing, but along the lines of, I'm sorry, but there's no reason why I would create competition for myself. And then that's when I realized that people who are really good at marketers, really good at social media, they're not going to tell you their secrets. I remember there was this Facebook ads course that I did. It was a free course from this great guru. And it was 30 days. And I thought, this is great. Like a 30-day free course. This is amazing. And by 30 days, it was like a few hours a day. You're going through the videos, maybe with some of your own money, running some ads. This was years ago. I think the course suggested spending $1,000 during the duration of the course. And then when you get to the very end of the course, I realized this a little bit later, not at that moment, but I realized that the entire course, it was made for you to fail. So then when you get at the end of the course and you realize, oh, gee, I'm not selling my product, or like this isn't working, I'm not getting more page likes or whatever it is, my brand isn't growing, then at the end it says, well, you still need help, call a member of our team. And I remember I did, and then this guy was basically trying to upsell people on an in-person that was like something crazy. Like, I don't know, it was like the way that the course was designed and the way that the split testing and the parameters of the ads in this course, it was meant to fail. And the thing is that if you invest somebody, you spent 30 days, you're invested. You've put so much work, so it's a lot easier to upsell someone because they've invested time and effort, and then they feel let down because it's not working, so then they're more likely to call for help and then spend like money on this huge course. So that's why you got to be careful. And for the most part, someone who's actually like really good at something, it doesn't mean that they aren't going to share some things that are good, but they will keep it to themselves. And a really good marketer, like, they'll take clients, but for the most part, they will keep like the juicy stuff of what makes like a brilliant advertising campaign to themselves. I mean, there's other things to be careful about, like cryptocurrency traders. Again, I don't know 100% for a fact, but I have come across this like before and people speaking about it, that what some of these YouTubers do that do these crypto trades, let's say that on one, or even stocks, let's say they go long on the stock in this account and then in another account they go short, and they only show in their YouTube videos their winning trade. So they have a perception online that, oh, they're a really good trader, like most of the trades are doing really good, like this person always knows when to go short or long or whatever. But in reality, there's people that they're just playing both sides, but they're not going to show you the side that didn't work. And at the end of the day, it kind of circles back to the same thing, because they're selling a dream. They're selling a dream that you can become a cryptocurrency trader or a stock trader and retire early. mind you, it's something like 97% of day traders lose money. So just be careful. And with trying to grow social media, even if, money is time, time is money. Even if you don't spend money on ads. Mind you, there's arguments that if you run ads on your account, it kills the reach, which is certainly possible. But if you're not spending money on ads, you still need to spend a lot of time. And it kind of comes back to my point that these things aren't necessarily easy. Now, to wrap up the video, I don't want this to come from a place of you can't succeed, you can't have a good business, don't have dreams. That's not at all what I want to do. What I do want to say is that you have to be careful, and you have to be careful who you trust. You have to be careful what YouTubers you follow. I remember I was following a number of the top stock and crypto YouTubers for the cryptocurrency cycle of 2020, 2021, and I realized after watching some of these guys religiously that at the end of the day, everybody's guessing. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows the next move up, the next move down. Nobody knows the top. Nobody knows the bottom until way in hindsight when they realize, oh yeah, this really is the bottom. So when they make predictions, this coin is gonna 10x and this one's gonna do this, and Bitcoin's gonna get to 500,000 or this or that, and everybody's just guessing, and this comes down to the same thing. They're selling the dream that you can make a lot of money, and then they make a lot of money. They make a lot of money because they're selling that dream. Okay, and what I want to circle back, I don't want to be discouraging, but what I do want to say, if you decide to do something, do it because you have a great passion. Don't do something just because there is a promise that is going to make you a lot of money. Do something that you're passionate about, because if you don't, there's a high chance that you will burn out. So let's say you pick up a particular niche on YouTube because you think it's going to make a lot of money. And then you realize, I've put out 80 videos. I put out 100 videos. I put out 150 and I only have still 400 subscribers. I haven't reached 500 or 1,000, and then if you even make it that far, you're just gonna burn out, and you're gonna feel disappointed because you failed. So what I'm getting to is that the way that you can succeed in any of these passions that you have is don't necessarily follow the promise of the money, because I wasn't trying things that I was passionate about, and then I was spending so many hours a week. Sometimes, if I combine my regular job with the stuff that I was doing outside, trying these different things online, sometimes I would be busy 100 hours a week for months at a time, month after month after month after month. And I would try the next thing and the next one and the next one and the next one. But I believe that part of my problem is that I was chasing the promise of the clickbait titles. And it wasn't until I realized that I need to follow a passion regardless of the money. It's easier said than done, and when you say it out loud, it sounds like the most obvious thing. But when you follow a passion and you wake up every single day and the money is a secondary thing, I believe that inevitably, success is way more likely to come. And you can see this, right? I'm not saying, of course, there's people that fall outside of this, but if you think of a lot of people with successful businesses, it's they grinded 3, 4, 5 years. They didn't give up, and they reinvented the business. They were trying to figure out, what works and what doesn't, and even look into something like a YouTuber. A YouTuber who's really passionate. Let's say at one point, they've posted 400 videos. Maybe they have only 2,000 subscribers with 400 videos. Because they're so passionate about it, they're going to analyze those 400 videos, analyze the viewer retention, which videos were getting more views. And because there's this passion, they keep going regardless of the money. And then at one point, they figure out, this is what's working, this is what isn't, this is when the audience is clicking away, and it's a learning process, and eventually for that type of person it's absolutely inevitable that they will do well because they're following a niche where there is passion. And even if it's been 2-3 years and they're still not making money on YouTube, or even if it's like $10 a month, they're still going. And because they're still going, there will come the day that likely they will be able to make a living. And another thing too is like, again, it comes back to the comparison. You know, comparing yourself to a lot of these young people who are making a lot of money, and like, mind you, a lot of these young people, they're selling courses, and they're probably making money because they're teaching how to make money, and I've seen a bit of that, and I can attest that selling a dream is what makes the most money, because I remember at the time I was posting to my Instagram some of the things that I was learning about ads, about algorithms. And I remember, like, I didn't have any interest in marketing consulting. I was just posting it just because I wanted to share what I was learning. And without me even trying, I had people messaging me willing to pay me. And at the time, like, I was very honest, and I said, hey, like, I'm learning this stuff. I don't have like a successful online business. I can teach you what I know, but I came from it from a very honest viewpoint, and people were still willing to pay me. And at the time, I was charging like $120 an hour. I didn't do it for very long, but had I stuck with it, I would probably be making $350 an hour full time. And the only reason I would be loaded and making a ton of money would be because I would be selling the dream. But I remember it was at that moment when people were messaging me without me even trying, people willing to pay me, even though I was being very cautious about people paying me when I was in the learning process myself. Even with all of that, people were still looking to get consulting from me because they saw that there was a promise there that through my knowledge they could achieve success. And then that's when I realized what makes the money is teaching how to make money. What makes the money is selling the dream. And then that's what you're gonna come across online. Articles written by a guru that's teaching you how to make money. Videos on dropshipping teaching you how to make money. Videos on social media growth teaching you how to make money. That's what makes the money most of the time. And when someone does know how to make money, they're not going to create competition for themselves, because why would they? It doesn't make any sense. What I'm saying is, find a passion, find something that you love, a niche that you love, whether you make more money or not, even if money is the outcome. It has to be in alignment with what's in the core of who you are. Because if there is passion, and there's days that you just want to quit, if the passion is there, you won't quit. And eventually, whatever you choose to do, you will succeed. But don't chase the dream of the money. Don't chase the clickbait of retiring early. Chase your passion and the rest will follow. If you chase your passion, I believe the money will come, because the passion will help you get through the hard days. And that's what you need to succeed. Just a little last note at the end. If anybody, for whatever reason, happened to make it this far, if you want to follow, subscribe, I may end up just posting my ramblings here and my thoughts on different things. If you like this video, you'll probably like other ramblings that I may do. If you did make it this far, I appreciate it. Bye-bye.